So first, it was collusion. Then the argument was obstruction. And now Democrats want to impeach the president for racism. Now, moments ago, the House voted to officially condemn the president's remarks about the women known as the Squad, the 4 freshman congresswomen. And perhaps that's a starting point for this third chapter in the impeachment story. So has the goalpost for impeachment been moved yet again?
Collusion or conspiracy, whatever you want to call it, to move forward with impeachment on this president.
This president and his administration engaged in obstruction of justice. I believe Congress should take the steps towards impeachment.
It is time for us to stop allowing this president to make a mockery out of our Constitution. It's time for us to impeach this president.
So now, back in the fold, after a divisive few days, the Democrats have united again against the president. Nancy Pelosi, in a very dramatic moment, moved to condemn the president of the United States on the House floor, prompting Republican Doug Collins to yell back and to insist that her comment now be stricken from the record.
Every single member of this institution, Democratic and Republican, should join us in condemning the president's racist tweets. To do anything less would be a shocking rejection of our values and a shameful abdication of our oath of office to protect the American people. I urge a unanimous vote and yield back the balance of my...
I was just going to give the General Speaker of the House if she would like to rephrase that comment.
I have cleared my remarks with a parliamentarian before I read them.
So just for some context here, in this kind of condemnation on the floor of the House of Representatives, you remember when Ilhan Omar was criticized for anti-Semitic remarks like this tweet in which she wrote that support for Israel was, quote, all about the Benjamins, baby. The House then basically folded on that condemnation. They argued about it for days. They chose in the end not to even name her, per se, and lumped in her comments by coming out against all forms of hate speech. At the time, Speaker Pelosi reacted very differently to Omar's remarks.
It's up to her to explain, but I do not believe that she understood the full weight of the words.
So let's bring in Jim Jordan tonight, member of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committees. What was it like on the floor tonight, watching all of this play out?
Democrats aren't going to stop. I mean, they're so focused on going after this president, so focused on actually getting to impeachment, I believe, that they're not going to stop at anything, even if it means breaking the rules on the House floor, where there's a certain level of decorum that you must maintain. The Speaker of the House didn't do that. Her words should have been taken down, should have been removed. Unfortunately, what she ended up doing, even though the parliamentarian ruled in our favor, ruled in Mr. Collins' favor, she just wound up having a vote, and the Democrats all voted with her. But they're solely focused on doing whatever they can to stop this president, instead of, frankly, working on what can help the country.
Yeah, she said she cleared her comments with the parliamentarian.
Obviously she didn't, or the parliamentarian would have told the person presiding over the House that her words were okay, and we'd have moved on.
Right.
But so obviously she didn't.
The president worked pretty hard to contain any potential Republican defectors on this vote. 4 of the members of the House voted yes on this. We're going to put them up on the screen. Congressman Hurd, Congressman Fitzpatrick, Upton, and Brooks. You voted no to this.
Yep.
So do you believe then that the president's comments were justified in that tweet?
I think the president was expressing the frustration that so many Americans feel about what's going on the border. Understand this, Martha. It was just a couple months ago when the president said this is a crisis, and all the Democrats says no, it's not. It's manufactured. It's contrived, and they wouldn't provide the money we needed to actually deal with the situation on the border. Then, when the real crisis gets worse, the Democrats say, "Oh, wait a minute. It is a crisis, but it's your fault, Mr. President, even though you asked us 8 weeks ago, 9 weeks ago, 10 weeks ago for help to deal with this." So the frustration he feels is frankly the same frustration the American people feel when they hear comments like abolish ICE, abolish DHS, walls are immoral, non-citizens should vote, these detention centers are concentration camps. So that's the frustration he feels, and I think the American people feel, and he was expressing that, and I think, in his statements over the weekend.
So the four women who call themselves the Squad said yesterday, we're not going to take the bait on any of this. And yet, they seem to be spending a lot of time talking about this, although they say that they want to move on. They were on CBS tonight on the Evening News with Norah O'Donnell. Let's take a look.
I'm dealing with the biggest bully I've ever had to deal with in my lifetime, and trying to push back on that and trying to do the job that we all have been sent here to do, which is centered around the people at home. This is a distraction.
Do you feel enough Republicans have spoken up against the president?
Absolutely not. I mean, we just held a vote today.
The normalization of it, the fact that it's against our core American values, that they're choosing him over country.
Wait, that was obviously Gayle King on CBS this morning. What do you make of those comments, Jim?
Look, these are the same people who said abolish ICE, abolish the Department of Homeland Security. I mean, these are the radical positions they have taken. These are the same individuals who said that the detention facilities to deal with this influx of the amazing numbers we've seen on the border, they call these detention facilities concentration camps, and we're supposed to figure out a way to work with them. It's just difficult. And again, I keep using the word frustration, but I know the people I get the privilege of representing back in the 4th District of Ohio, they don't understand why we can't come together and deal with the crisis that's on the border and not have the kind of language we hear from these four members of Congress.
What do you think about, politically? Is this fight really exactly where President Trump wants to be? Politics is all about contrast, and these women are creating a heck of a lot of contrast for President Trump and for your party.
President Trump wants to be where this country is right now because of his leadership. Taxes cut, regulations reduced, economy growing at an unbelievable rate, lowest unemployment in 50 years, Gorsuch and Kavanaugh on the court, we're out of the Iran deal, the embassies in Jerusalem, the hostages are home from North Korea, and a whole bunch of other things. That's where the president wants to be, and he's going to keep doing the things he told the American people he was going to do when they elected him, and that includes dealing with the border. That includes building the border security wall, fixing our asylum laws, and dealing with this crisis that for weeks and weeks and weeks the Democrats said was manufactured, it was fake, it wasn't real. Then it gets so bad they said, oh, wait a minute, it is real. And it's your fault, Mr. President, even though we've done nothing to help you deal with it. That's what's going on here, and that's what the president's going to campaign on.
And Congressman, before I let you go, I want to ask you one question about Robert Mueller's testimony, which has now been moved to next week. Is it going to happen next week? Is that your understanding? For sure?
I think so, but I mean, look, Jerry Nadler told us this was going to happen 2.5 months ago, so it's scheduled for next week. We'll see. We got questions for him. We're working on what we're going to ask him, so we look forward to it, and we'll see how it goes.
Let me play you something from Devin Nunes last night on with Sean Hannity. Watch this.
I fear what's going on right now is that Mueller's working with a lot of his staff who are back-channeling to the Democrats. And so it is very possible that Mueller is going to have a few little sound bites that are going to give the Democrats exactly what they want.
He's suggesting that Robert Mueller has been fed specific things to say that will allow Democrats to sink their teeth into some of these phrases for impeachment proceedings or impeachment investigation.
We will see. I guess it wouldn't surprise me if that's going on, but I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Here's the one thing I do know, though. The investigation the Attorney General of the United States has tasked John Durham to do, which is to get to the bottom of the origins of this entire thing, the spying that took place and everything else. That's the investigation that counts. That's the one I'm looking forward to when we get the results of that investigation. So next week we'll ask him questions. We'll see how it goes.
All right. Congressman Jordan, thank you very much. Good to see you here tonight.
You too.